happy Thirsty Thursday. Today we are talking about different methods of carbonation. And to illustrate that point, what are we drinking today, Paula?
We have hard cider that we made ourselves.
We did. And we bottle carbonated it. So what are the two different ways that you can carbonate things?
Well, you have two choices, and it really is a personal preference. You can always carbonate in a bottle. I guess the initial cost is cheaper, and it is where people usually start when they're home brewing. Some people stay to that the rest of the time. But then the second is forced carbonation, and that would be an option if you're kegging. Many people who home brew end up evolving into that.
But kegging initially at the beginning is more of an upfront cost.
It is, and takes up a lot more space.
Yeah, and you have to have more equipment per se than just bottles and some.
For sure. So like bottling is like you need bottles, obviously all the cleaner, sanitizer, caps, and a capper, and you're gonna need a little combination bottling wand. Boom. And then when you're looking at kegging, you have your CO2 and you have your kegs, and then you have all your lines, you have your regulator, you have a kegerator, I'm assuming. You have some business there.
So for the beginner brewer, the person that's looking to get into bottle carbonating something, what does that look like?
You're going to have a couple of choices when it comes to how you want to bottle condition. Not only are you choosing what kind of bottles, where you chose the bottles, we did these, and you chose the 22 ounces.
Yeah, so when you're bottle conditioning, you can choose between 22 ounce or 12 ounce. And 12 ounce is like your standard. But I like to do the 22 because then when you pour it, you can usually pour for like you and a friend out of the same 22.
Which we did.
And I don't know, I just think it's very rare, I feel like, that, at least for me personally, I have one 12 ounce drink. Like, if I'm gonna drink, like, I'd rather have, 22, so it's just easier for me. So you can choose the bottles, and then you can also choose the way that you're carbonating.
You're gonna need to do it while you still have some activity in the yeast. And so it's all about that chemical reaction. So the chemical reaction during fermentation is simply because we want the yeast to eat the fermentables. It puts off CO2 and creates alcohol. Well, we're not necessarily looking for more alcohol, obviously, when we're carbonating, but the CO2 is that fantastic fizzy feeling and carbonation feeling that you want in a good beer or a cider.
So when you carbonate something, you basically have two options. You have the corn sugar or dextrose, or you can use carbonation drops. I personally like the carbonation drops because they're pre-measured, and when you're carbonating something, you want between a half ounce to an ounce per gallon of dextrose. But with the carbonation drops, it's already pre-measured. And it tells you exactly how much.
I do think it's easier.
I think it's easier, but at the same time, we have had struggles in the past where we've added the exact amount of carbonation drops that it said to add, and then it's been over-carbonated.
Yeah. But I do think the carbonation drops are going to be a little bit pricier because, like anything else, when you have a convenience item, there's a price to go with that.
Yeah.
So versus just boiling some water and putting that corn sugar in there and making it work. And if you already have corn sugar, if you see something that's called dextrose or corn sugar or priming sugar, it's all the same thing.
Just different
So
names.
just use it.
So when you're actually using the priming sugar, you're going to mix it with boiling water, and then you add that to your bottling bucket, and then you siphon the beer or whatever beverage you're making on top of that, and then you bottle.
Right, because you want that mixed throughout your solution.
Yep. And if you are using the carbonation drops, you just drop them right into the bottle and then bottle on top of that.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Cool.
And then don't forget cool bottle caps.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool bottle caps.
We do. When I'm in a situation where I have bottles versus a keg, I actually consume a little bit more when it's a keg.
When it's a keg?
I do.
I mean, yeah, because you're not actually, measured out to that bottle amount. So let's talk about kegging then.
Okay.
So let's talk about forced carbonation. So the difference between bottling and forced carbonation is with forced carbonation, you're not adding any priming sugar to the actual bottles themselves.
Right, because you don't need that chemical reaction. You don't need, the yeast to be actively working because you're not creating the CO2. you're putting the CO2 in it. Thus, the idea of forced carbonating.
So the most basic form of forced carbonation is the 24-hour forced carbonation. So basically, you are going to have it at 30 to 35 psi for 24 hours. It's best if the beer is cold. That helps. And then after that period, if you're going to be serving it, then you put it down to serving pressure, which is around 12 psi.
And you may have to purge a little bit if you're a little bit over carbonated. You may have to purge a little bit of that out of there just to make sure that it's palatable.
But if you're looking to get a beer out quickly, you're not going to get it out quickly with bottle carbonating.
No, because flat beer is not the answer.
And I am a very, very impatient person. So honestly, if I was home brewing all the time, I would get a keg like stat.
I would get a keg too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus it's cool to, I don't know, why is it so cool to like pull that?
Because it is.
It just is.
But you know, when we were a smaller company and we had the ability to brew here all the time, and we brewed all the time, and we may or may not have had some beverages while we were drinking, while we were working. See, we weren't having beverages while we were drinking. We should have been working on a Friday. We had a 3-tap kegerator. We would have never thought of putting it in bottles.
Oh, no.
Because it was just so nice to have 3, always changing it out. If something wasn't fully carbonated, just drink the other 2. I miss those days.
I never had those days.
I know. I think
also, what do you mean you miss those days? Your drinking day has been pushed from Friday to Thursday.
Well, we used to call it Drunk Friday. Now it's just Thirsty Thursday. That's
yeah,
all right.
It's a better name. It's a better name. All right. Well, I hope you learned something about the 2 different methods of carbonation, both bottling and forced carbonation. If you enjoyed these rambles, we have a whole library full of them for your entertainment pleasure. We're gonna keep drinking. If you're not drinking, I hope you get to soon. And with that, cheers.
Cheers.